Oh, we're recording right now?
We're in the studio.
All right. Well, we have one of our, we have the best guests we've ever gotten on the podcast today.
By far, the most excited and nervous I've been for any guest.
Yes, you may know him from the...
only my second guess, correct?
Yes.
Yes, you are, yes. Oh, wait, no. We had a gun influencer.
We did. We had one of Shane's friends who has a gun YouTube channel with about 1 million followers on it.
But you
still got barely any views.
It got 60 views.
I think this will be the most watched episode.
I am
Absolutely.
so excited. I am so excited. And look who I brought, Maryjane.
Hello.
Yes, so you can ask either of us any questions you want.
This is one. Yeah, so just to introduce our guests, we have comedian, filmmaker, legendary cult classic creator of Windy City Heat. He closes out the main room every single night at the Comedy Store. The original room.
You may know him from the movie Blood Diner from 1987.
Also in the movie Blood Diner, has been doing warm-up for Jimmy Kimmel, who he is also a close personal friend of. For how long have you been doing that?
Have I been doing the show? Since it started.
Since it started.
So that would be day one.
How many years is that now?
2003 January, the end, like the 26th of January.
Okay.
First show, I will give anybody here a nickel. And I might have to go to the bank before I do that, but I will owe you a nickel if anybody can tell me the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guess.
Oh, okay.
First show of Jimmy Kimmel.
All right.
January 26th.
Nicole Kidman, Pol Pot. Was he on there?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So I think Nicole Kidman was correct, but Pol Pot was not. All right.
I mean, I want to say Brad Pitt, but that sounds like an easy answer. I feel like Jennifer Aniston is a favorite for those. But I'm not sure who was. I mean, I'd assume they would have people who were coming out with like movies at that time.
So it's 2003, so it could be anybody.
Well, you've narrowed it down.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks.
Good guess.
Adam Carolla.
It's an excellent guess. But no.
Cooper Lyden.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, that was a real good guess. And I was wondering when you were going to say that. No, it was not Cooper.
I wasn't doing stand-up at that time.
How old were you?
2003.
I was around 3. I was born in 1999, so I was around 3 to 4 at that time. So
late in the year. I mean, early in the year. Excuse me, 2003.
Okay. Yeah, so if it was pre-May, then I'd be around 3 years old. So yeah, I wasn't doing stand-up at that time.
Barely over.
Yeah.
Barely over 2.
Yeah, so I wasn't doing stand-up.
I was about 4. So
yeah.
I think I maybe was more like, so I'm going to guess myself.
I'm going to turn over all the cards. You're not even close. Right. Back then, what Jimmy wanted to do is he was going to have a co-host for the week. That was his little thing. They used to do that on the old Mike Douglas show, and that was a thing. And it was like a different thing. So that week, the first week, Snoop Dogg was the co-host, so he was on.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
First guest that came out after was George Clooney.
Oh,
then, because it was done the day that Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl, and it was in San Diego, they took a helicopter and they flew, I can't think of his name. He played at the University of Miami. Big defensive lineman.
Not like
then the
Warren
band,
Sapp or somebody, right?
Yeah, it was Warren Sapp.
It was? They got Warren Sapp on the first episode?
Yeah, because he did well in the game.
And he's very charismatic, right?
Well, as they found out, he had that, whoa, but he did a lot of like open his eyes real wide and just like, it was all really fake. Anyway, and the band that night, Coldplay.
Okay.
They closed down Hollywood Boulevard. And kind of a cool thing for me, because walking out, there was like a little aisle that they made in between all the people to go to the stage. So the 5 people, wouldn't have been 5, the 5 people, 6 people. Jimmy, myself, George Clooney, Snoop Dogg. Warren Sapp didn't come, so there's only 4, but that was who was making it through there. So I was in that little prestigious gang.
You were in the VIP gang.
So does that mean if we had guessed you, we would have got a penny?
No.
Okay.
I think,
it was a nickel.
With your career at the Comedy Store and at Kimmel, you've probably met more famous people easily than most people on Earth. Do you have like a few who have you been like the most excited to meet? Because you've met presidents.
I'll tell you the guys on a show that you don't even know who it is. Do you know Maryjane?
I am going to guess this might be wrong, but he, that one guy,
That's it. That one guy.
Paul McCartney.
I fist bumped him, but I didn't really meet him.
But he was nice.
But I'll tell you this. The person that I was most excited to meet, you don't even know him. Do you know who a guy by the name of Jeff Lynne is?
No.
Is that a musician?
Yeah.
Who did he play for?
He was in the Electric Light Orchestra,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he produced like Tom Petty. He was part of the Traveling Wilburys with George Harris, that super group of the late 80s.
He produced them, or
No, he was in the band. He was in the band.
He was in the band?
Yes.
But I thought it was just Roy Orbison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, and George Harrison. I thought that was like the four.
There was four.
I'm
but
wrong.
There was five.
There was five.
And the other guy was Jeff Lynne.
What did he play in that band? Like keyboards or guitar?
He sang.
Oh my God. I had no idea.
Jeff Lynne he's like considered, he was the guy that did the, God, I can't think of the album title from Tom Petty, the one with the song Free Fallin'.
Yeah.
Oh, is it the Torpedoes one?
No, not Damn the Torpedoes. That was their first one. But you got one.
I did. So I get a penny?
No. I'm not. You would have gotten a nickel if you would have guessed the five.
And we didn't even get close.
No.
Yeah.
So this podcast has cost us one nickel.
No, it hasn't. You just didn't get it. You didn't lose anything.
But you offered it to us, and then we didn't get it.
Because you didn't win doesn't mean you never lost anything.
Don, I mean, you've got to understand the full scope of economics to understand his statement.
But I was able to do something on the show because now one of my jokes that I like to do, and I really have forced this, I can honestly say that every time I've been in the room with a current world leader, I have shook that current world leader's hand.
Yeah, you were telling me when Joe Biden was there, they were being very uptight, and they were like, don't talk to the president, and you pushed past his Secret Service.
I kind of did.
Which seems almost impossible to do without being tackled. But I guess in that situation, they're maybe a little more trusting.
I think there was one guy watching me pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And I just quickly went up and I just offered my hand. I said, good to see you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
So have you ever gotten like the inkling to be like, all right, I'm around the president. What if I made history right now? And you...
No. You know what?
No? You never thought about killing a president?
Oh, boy. That'd be something I'd want to say yes to right here, but no, of course not. And, and I think that they probably checked that out. And if I would have had something like that, said something stupid on a podcast,
sure,
they would have actually heard about it, investigated me more, because there's been numerous high political figures there. Yes.
Just so you know, they have probably thoroughly vetted him years ago, and leading up to it, the Secret Service is monitoring blocks around it.
Yeah.
Searching bags, searching. It doesn't get to just walk in there.
Right.
Okay.
Right. There's a chance that if another president appears on the Jimmy Kimmel show, that a Secret Service agent will have to watch this episode of this podcast.
Yes.
But they know
you said it.
I did say
What's your name?
But
I'm Cooper Leiden.
Shane Bianchi.
It's not my full name.
I
will say
Shane has these thoughts. Don did not.
I was just
Don did
curious.
not support the thoughts.
I was just curious, but I will say that because of stuff we said on this podcast, we will probably never be allowed around a world leader. We were calling for a violent revolution on the last episode.
You know what? Oh, did you really?
Yeah, we were calling for.
Well, not. I wouldn't say really. It's hard to say really. But so there's a fair chance that in the Secret Service file, you're sort of labeled as a jokester. It's like this.
I'm sure under there in the file, it's funny man Don Barris.
Yeah, funny man. He's a bit of a rascal. They say they would do that. Yeah, they'd say, don't worry about him. He might shake the president's hand, but he's just a bit of a rascal.
And if I may say,
please do.
Not once but twice, Barack Obama was on the show. Both times, I kind of watched him because it was like really fun to see how. First of all, when he got up, he's done with this segment. He looked, and the executive producer at the time, he went over, he shook his hand. he shook Guillermo's hand, and he came over and shook my hand because he saw me out there the whole time.
Right.
And then he's let out the back. I would say within 30 seconds, he's on Highland. I mean, it's just like at precision. They just boom, and they're gone.
Yeah.
This is going to sound like a stupid question, but like, of the presidents you shook hands with, who do you feel like had the best handshake?
I would say Obama. First of all, his hands are unbelievably soft.
That makes sense.
Unbelievably soft. But the thing is, you see why he's a great politician, because when he shakes your hand, he looks you right in the eye, and you're like, oh my God, if I'm like wishy-washy and he did that to me, I'm voting. I've said nothing but wonderful things about Barack Obama ever since, because he came up to me as a human being. He looked at me, looked me in the eye, shook my hand. Hey, how you doing?
I've heard that thing about people like Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, where they do have an energy that if people are around them, they're like, I love that guy now. There's just, even if they're like lifelong Republicans, they're like, they have something about him.
Yeah,
it's that effect. Do you need some more water?
Not now. It
Okay.
was very nice cold
You
water.
let me know. I'll get you. We still got cold water.
Can I tell you this? I have said a few times, and I've complained about it, and I'm going to be open now.
Yeah.
When you do the podcast here, there is no valet for your car to be parked.
There is not.
I've also complained about this.
But I will say this. The minute I came in, would you like some water? Really cold water. Maryjane, do I like cold water?
Yes. Actually, I'm impressed that he is so complimentary to your cold water when it is not even a cup filled with ice.
I don't have ice.
That's okay. But I'm saying it's impressive. Your water must be very good and very cold.
It is Brita filtered.
I am
so
going
it's
to tell
filtered
other
water.
people how the water is here, so hopefully you get more people.
That would be great. If that would get some more guests on the podcast. I did want to ask, so obviously you have a long history at the Comedy Store.
Yes, I do.
I don't really know much about before that, and you're from Michigan, Detroit area.
No. A little place called Saginaw Township, Michigan.
Saginaw
Township.
Is that near Lansing?
No, but
okay.
I also lived in Lansing because I went to Michigan State, and then I lived there.
Why don't you do that thing that Michiganders do where you hold up your hand and point to your hand, and then they'll know where it is?
Okay, just so you know, that's what you do to fellow Michiganders. You don't do that to these street people.
The
Where do you guys
mitten.
come from? Yeah.
I'm from the San Fernando Valley.
Okay, first of all, when you go to Michigan, one of the legends, and I don't know if it's true or not, but when God was making the earth, he held it by where Michigan was, and he was wearing gloves at the time. Mitten.
Oh, because his hands were cold from being up there.
I would imagine.
Yeah,
That's
you'd
all I
have
can
to.
think.
Where did you start comedy? Was it in Michigan? Were there open mics at that time?
No, I never did an open mic in Michigan.
Why don't you start where you were born and who was born there also, and then take your story away?
Okay. I was born in the same hospital as Stevie Wonder, but that really has
Holy shit.
Besides my incredible singing voice, I don't think that really means anything.
But you guys are still in touch.
No, I've never. Actually, I talked to him one time.
I'm sure you have
Did you
on the
bring
show.
up the hospital?
No, I did. As a matter of fact, I did. He came to the Comedy Store, and I asked his guy if I could say hello to him. And I said, yeah, I'm from Saginaw, Michigan, born in Saginaw General Hospital. Oh, yeah, And I just...
My old stomping grounds, he said.
I don't think he did.
My old crawling
I've
grounds.
seen a lot of shit there.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of shit in Saginaw.
So you're born in Saginaw with Stevie Wonder.
No, not with him.
Are you guys of a similar... I feel like he would have to be...
He's much older.
Yeah, like...
Yes.
Like 15 to 20 at this
maybe.
He's very old by
it
now.
is.
Yeah.
But we were not born in the same time.
Right.
He was born in Saginaw General Hospital. I was born in Saginaw General Hospital.
And that's the only thing you have in common.
Why don't you jump to that your awards for your athletic ability? Why don't you just jump to that?
You were an athlete.
Yes. But it's a dumb joke, and I'm not going to do it, Maryjane.
I mean, it's not true?
Yeah, it's true. Okay. Anyway,
I imagine you played some sports.
I did play sports. Our football team, my senior year, went to the state championship.
What position did you play?
I was a wide receiver.
Wow.
defensive end.
I was also a defensive end.
Yeah.
I knew you were a defensive end, not in high school. I was much too small in high school.
We played like an outside linebacker, but we made it to the state championship. And the game before in the semifinals, I got kicked out of the game for spearing somebody.
Really?
Yeah. They actually had a great picture in the newspaper of my head right in the middle of his back.
So they got a picture of the spear.
Yes, they did.
It was definitely confirmed.
Yes.
You couldn't deny it.
Do you think
But
that's in your like this Secret Service has that in your file?
About the spearing that happened?
That he might, spear somebody.
He could
It's a great
spear.
question. I would have no idea. I'm not the guy to ask.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those files.
Check Joe Biden's. Yeah.
I believe after this podcast, they're going to go and find that newspaper and find that photo and add it to it.
They should add it to the file, just because
Yes.
technically it is a part of
Funny
his-
man / spearer.
Yeah. At least in the past, he has speared. So you went to the state championship in high school. And did you go to college or did you immediately move to LA
No,
after
I
high
went-
school?
You're glossing over the fact, how many other sports did you play all at once?
I played a lot of sports.
How many were you, like a 4-star athlete or
I was
4-sport?
3-sport.
What were the 3 sports? Baseball?
Basketball.
So football, baseball, basketball.
Yes.
You're a good American, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
When I was a sophomore, I went to a private school in Florida where I was on the varsity football team as a sophomore.
Wow.
I played JV basketball, and then I was on the varsity baseball team
Why did you go to a school in Florida?
because my mother sent me to military school.
Because you were a wild child.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, you were
Did you start fires?
you're a pretty funny guy, so I feel like if you were doing the kind of jokes you do now in a quiet Saginaw town,
Saginaw Township, Michigan.
in a township,
Yeah, I
of
was
all
looked
places.
on as kind of a different type of kid.
yeah, and then eventually, okay, yeah. So, did you have a good relationship with your mother at that time, or was it intense because you were having trouble in school and stuff?
I was never in trouble with school.
So, what prompted it? Was it like at home? Were you?
You know what? Let's bring in my therapist. He can answer some of these.
Sure, we can. We're gonna have.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
actually have them booked for the next episode.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you want to give Dawn the depression and anxiety test?
We do have a.
We've done that multiple people.
Let me warn you. Don is a wonderful, happy person, but he will be. Cover your ears, Don. Go ahead. Cover your ears. He's clueless on that. Clueless. So have fun with it.
Oh, all right.
Well,
Do
yeah,
you think we should?
if you'd like to, near the end of the episode, we do have a depression and anxiety checklist in this cognitive behavioral therapy workbook I have that we have taken ourselves. I scored a 34, which is considered severe anxiety. Shane got an 80, which is considered extreme anxiety to PTSD levels. So you are in a safe space. You don't have to worry about getting a high score, but we have taken it ourselves and we have given it to the other guest, Dan, that we've had on the podcast.
Who scored a 0 on both counts?
One more comment. Do you guys care? Is it valid if somebody is completely honest in the test? Is it invalid if they will not even comprehend the fact of being honest on certain questions?
Well, I think, as far as I know, with a lot of psychological tests that are answered by the patient, the questions are formatted to try and weed out the kind of variabilities that can come with somebody who's self-reporting.
Is there a waitress that can get me that water?
I can get you the water right now.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
You don't. I don't want you to interrupt.
No.
No, sit down.
Don't worry.
not-
It'll
No,
be
no.
2 seconds, and
Yes.
Shane will ask you the question. Keep describing your. I'll be back in
All
a
right.
second.
Yeah.
What would you like me to do?
What
keep
part of
describing?
Florida?
I was in Melbourne, Florida.
What area is that?
Melbourne is near the ocean on the East Coast side.
Okay. So what age, when did you move to Hollywood?
I came out here shortly after I decided I'm not going back to school.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. If he was interested in that, he would have asked me.
I don't know shit about college. I never went. But, so you moved to Hollywood how many years ago? Like
A lot of years ago.
a lot of years? So
And
Was your goal always to just get into the Comedy Store?
yes. I knew nothing else. I knew the Comedy Store. And I said, I'm going to go there. When I got here, I kind of pulled up there. They
Yeah.
wouldn't let me park there. But and then I said, if I ever start getting spots, I will take every spot I can get.
Was there any other spots you could do, like in LA at that time? Were there like open mics or?
I've always been able to get spots at the Comedy Store.
There's more cold water coming. It's being filtered and made cold.
So
Right.
there's going to be consistent cold water coming
Hey,
from
Cooper,
all.
Thank you, but I'm fine. So
Wonderful. Well, listen, we don't have a lot to offer, but we do have cold water.
I tell you this: what you don't have to offer is that valet parking.
We don't have valet at the.
I had
well,
to walk across the street.
you did have, and it was frankly disgusting for me to have to watch you walk across the street and not have valet parking, which I do apologize
A
about.
fucking dog almost attacked me when I came up.
It did, a
I
dog.
was thinking it'd be so funny if that dog just bit you.
We did have a good a lady walked by with the dog. It was very nice. We were petting the dog, and then Dawn said, the dog can smell the semen on my pants. And then the lady promptly walked away, which I think is good because that gives her something to talk about.
In all fairness, the dog came between my legs and started sniffing.
It's completely fair to say. I think that's completely allowed. But people treat their dog like they're babies now.
Yeah.
So you only knew about, you said you wanted to come straight to the Comedy Store. Was that like, were you influenced by people like Steve Martin at that, or what drew you to the Comedy Store?
That's the only place I really heard of.
How'd you hear about it first before you moved out here?
Cable TV.
Right.
I came here. Yes.
Can you tell them like things that you would have seen on the cable TV that identifies specifically?
I cannot.
So like maybe like Gary Shandling, maybe.
List on. Give.
It doesn't matter. I just
Absolutely.
see Comedy Store specials, and I saw people that
Right.
and on Comedy Store specials, and I thought, wow. And then when they put out the Comedy Store special, have you ever seen that? The 5-part series on Showtime?
I haven't seen it. I think you were in it, right?
No, I was on I think there was an album they made
Yes.
that had some stuff that I got to be on.
Oh, congratulations.
That's my one little
did.
marker. But so what was your experience with performing before moving out here? Had you done like talent shows at school or anything?
I had
or
been a DJ, and I did frat parties and sorority parties and weddings.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
So you were already getting the chops for like stand up and warm up.
And what I would do is I would have a song ready to go. And if I do something that I thought was funny, I do it and I'm ready to go. The minute that either the joke worked or didn't, I'm pushing the song.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So throughout the wedding, you're doing bits, you're telling jokes.
Not really bits the whole time, but I would talk, and I got used to talking in front of an audience.
I guess that kind of makes sense because if you watch your set at the Comedy Store now, it is a little bit in the vein of like, you're good at talking to couples, saying like sort of sometimes slightly naughty, fun things that kind of get people going. It is almost like a DJ energy, and this is a compliment in a good way.
Well, it is interesting.
You bring people in.
The DJ thing is you do kind of like, it's like almost metaphorically you get people to dance, you know?
I mean,
the way you manipulate the crowd. I guess that's manipulate's a harsh word, but
No, but I
you
would-
play
I would
them like a
say that
fiddle.
I try to do that because I just remember when watching people. So I watched people at the Comedy Store, and I was there every night, so I saw everybody. And
Yeah,
I thought, wow, these guys just suck.
sure.
You were doing good line of questioning before the water, but I think you really screwed up by not asking this particular question. Can I give you a question to place back into that area of the conversation?
Yes.
Sure.
Why don't you ask Don what his experience was the first time he stepped foot inside the Comedy Store?
All right. So, Don, when you first stepped into the Comedy Store, what the fuck happened?
Where'd you get that dumb question?
Shane's not that good at interviewing. I'm very sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm so new to
Really
this.
is.
I talked to Shane about this. I told him I
You
would lead it.
should, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I would have done if I was the co-host right now?
What?
Slapping him in the back of the head for embarrassing me.
Yeah.
Well, Cooper's technically the guest host.
Is it? So this
yeah.
is,
No, we're
This is-
co-hosts.
This is technically my
That's why I just like
podcast.
him.
is it really?
Shane's been trying to make a point from the start of this podcast that it's his podcast that I guest host on, and I've been trying
Well,
to.
audience, okay, we got
But
a bunch
it's
of
at
fan
your
mail.
place.
And it's at my place. This is my equipment. I produce it. I put it out. I make the clip. I have full control over this. I mean, Shane doesn't know this. I make clips, and I just change what he says in the clips to what I think is good.
So do you, like, if somebody answers in a good way, will you cut him out and then ask the same question?
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, if
well,
you complimented Shane on his question, I would just cut myself in to make it look like he complimented me. Shane's not going to be in any of this. I mean, it's mostly just, it's going to be two me's probably, or I'll sort of make myself bigger.
A lot of
and
he has been
superimpose.
doing that recently. Audience has been referring to it as the ugliest looking podcast they've ever seen because it's just two Coopers. They said, "Where's the hot
That's
guy?"
Cool. Well, that's the reason I was brought in.
Yeah, we're trying to get more, sweet candy on the podcast.
a lot of people have been clamoring for more pieces of ass.
Yeah, I mean, you do something really amazing on stage, and I've always loved what you do. And one of the best nights watching you was we had a night where there were 5.
This is at the Comedy Store.
This is at the Comedy Store. You were doing your usual closing out the OR. It was an insane night in the OR where there was probably 15 people left. There were 5 of them were the most drunk and on cocaine Australians I've ever seen. There was another group of Australians who were also hammered. And then there was other people about who were sort of a regular amount of fun, but still wild. And I went up, and I could barely do my set, but it was fun. I just had fun with it, and I just yelled at them, and we screamed back at each other. And I just sort of went with the flow. And then you went up, and it was really funny because this was a crowd that wasn't necessarily defeating comics, but nobody could really do what they usually do. I couldn't go up and do my material, so I just had to have fun with them. And they were trying to be crazier than you, and they would say stuff to you, and then you would fire back with something like, "Why don't you spit in my mouth?" Or you would come back with something.
Doesn't sound like me.
It's not something you would say, and you didn't say it. This is completely allegedly. And you would come back with something so much crazier than what they said, and you defeated all of their craziness in a good way because they loved it. But they thought they were so crazy and fun and wild, and then seeing you, I've always loved what you do, but then seeing you in the craziest room I've ever seen, sort of like absolutely almost in your element of like having this complete calmness and control over an uncontrollable room. It was insane to see watching you do that room compared to anybody else I saw that night.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. Let me ask you this. I'm still defeated because of last night. Did you perform last night?
I did. I was after you, and you had a bad time up there. You didn't enjoy
I
it.
did not like it at all.
They were very tepid.
Yeah. The people were laughing, but they were just.
Yeah, they were nice, and they would smile, and they would chuckle softly, but there wasn't any kind of like wanting
There
to
was
have
no
fun.
group
No.
like of people all like people were laughing, but it's just like, and it just
That's also something I noticed at the beginning of the night because I cold opened that set of like I would tell a joke and then everybody would be like
Last
smiling.
night?
Yeah, they'd be smiling at me and like they're like enjoying themselves, but they didn't seem to know that you're supposed to just like laugh, And that's probably on me.
They didn't really let go, it seems like, which is a people's issue. So you were doing DJing before you moved to Los Angeles, but had you done much stand-up at that time?
never done
No stand-up.
in my life.
But your plan was to do stand-up, to come to LA and to do stand-up.
Yes.
You drove into the lot. They didn't let you park.
Didn't let me park there. But I saw a guy that later I befriended, and I started getting spots because of him.
Okay, so you didn't like do the open mic.
What was
kinda
his
thing.
name?
He called himself the Todd.
I think I've heard of the Todd.
He kind of like, and what he did, and people say that what he did, it just shows you how bitter comedy is. He had been here for years, wasn't getting anything except at the store, nothing else. And and then he was doing drugs. And I think he had something happen to him. And everybody thinks he faked it because his mother was rich. So he was able to go back and live with his mother in Florida and just be like a zombie.
Oh.
Mm.
And you just went back there and
Yeah.
didn't even kick the drugs. Just went back.
It is very, very tough to make it. And I think that, what would you say is the biggest thing about doing comedy, the worst part of it right now at this point in your life?
I think right now at this point in my life is I'm trying to hone being good at talking about what I want to talk about, but that when you're not famous and you don't have all the skills and crafts to do that learning process is a lot of having bad sets. And so the hardest part is committing to staying honest with yourself in the face of, no money or success or grand. You're not getting affirmed for your work yet. I get affirmed in some ways, like you've said nice things to me about my sets. My friends will say nice things to me. Certain comics have taken me on the road. But in general, I haven't built a life off of this. So there's no evidence, there's no financial evidence that what I'm doing is the right decision. And I think it's easy for a lot of people to either quit, go crazy, or start doing a type of comedy that is more marketable, but they don't find joy in. And so it's trying to retain yourself in the face of the world saying well, why are you up there saying these things that are unappealing? And it's well, because I look at guys like Bill Burr or Louis C.K. who have a lot of challenging material and people are amazed by it, but they only got that good at doing that material by failing a lot. So it's this thing of, if you're going to go down this road of the hard way of doing exactly what you want to do, you have to accept that it's not easily marketable. You're not going to make quick money off it. Agents and managers.
Is that what it is for you? Because
I would 100% agree.
The hardest thing is you make no money.
Yeah.
You have absolutely no money whatsoever. I was lucky because I thought, what could I do? And then someone said, do audience warm up. And so I started talking to everybody I knew, and I had a little theory of how I could do this. I started getting jobs, and thank goodness for Kimmel. He came into my life and wanted to work with me on my movie. And so what he did is he put me to work. So I got to work on Win Ben Stein's Money for a couple of years. And I'll tell you this, I don't know if you know who Ben Stein is at all.
No.
Yeah.
He was in the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Who did he play in that?
He was the teacher, Bueller.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I know that guy.
Well, he had a TV show called Win Ben Stein's Money. Jimmy Kimmel used to co-host it.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought me in to do the audience warm-up. And I've been working ever since. And I mean, now I've been working on Jimmy Kimmel Live for going on 22 years.
And was the Win Penn Stein's Money, was that your first warm-up job?
No.
Or you had done some before then?
I kind of went on the road with Dice.
Oh, really? How long?
Yeah.
How long did you open for Dice for?
Well, I wouldn't call it opening. What he did is I would go up first, and he would, and he just wanted me to,
warm up the crowd almost, not even really jokes.
There were people that would go there, and they couldn't. Dice's crowds, believe it or not, were difficult.
Yeah.
Because they didn't give a shit about anybody else except Dice.
Yeah, that's like a cult following.
Yeah, so it was they booed the fuck, and I just went out there and took the booze. So they introduced me as RCA recording star Don Barris, and I came out and I sang Copacabana.
You would sing?
Yeah.
Was it mostly singing?
Yeah.
So it was just sort of just being up there, so almost as just a vector of their aggression to get out before the show started.
Exactly. And then I'd bring up the guy that was the first guy up, but I'd sing a couple songs. My favorite time ever was we played the Pontiac, or not the Pontiac, but the what was it? What later became Joe Louis Arena.
Okay, so this is at Dice's height when he's doing arenas. Yeah. You're doing this in arenas.
I did a couple arenas.
Jesus.
But so we did that, and I went through this, and they're booing the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to feel this. So I said, let me ask you guys, because I think you're kind of rude. And there's a whole group of people right here give me the finger.
Yeah.
So I would do that. So now I'm at the end of my second song. And I want to ask you people this. How many people here tonight came out to see Andrew Dice Clay? And this was in a place, over 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And so when they started cheering, that's an incredible fucking feeling, man.
Right.
Just that energy that comes up at you really don't understand it until you've experienced it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I thought that was the greatest thing. And but because they were cheering for Andrew, and I said, well, you know what? I brought 14 of my friends here tonight. And I started listening. My friend Ron Rivard is here.
Yeah, and then they just start booing again.
Yeah.
Just right back to it.
Exactly.
Did you at least get a laugh when you'd fuck with them like that?
But the thing is, Dice would sit on the side of the stands and watch me, and he just thought it was hysterical.
Well, because it's like the crowd doesn't understand that they're almost being made fun of too, because you're being brought out as a singer, and they think they're better than you by booing somebody they think is a singer who's really just a comedian that's practically just pranking them.
Yes.
By pretending to be a singer and like subjecting them to just singing 5 songs when they came for stand-up. And you're doing this a cappella pretty much?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's hilarious.
As you might know or not know, but like Dice's crowd, his fans, were like the rocker types of like, what bands did he used to work with? Like Guns N' Roses and but those crazy like late 80s rocker types.
Right.
So those type of people, I don't know if you guys would have ever met them. But
I mean, they've kind of fallen away. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Distinct, dense, asshole person.
Yeah.
Like they're not well-rounded.
They don't really. I think the funniest thing about sort of, from my perspective, Dice's audience, the funniest thing is that they almost don't understand that Dice is joking. Like they kind of think that's a real person. They don't understand they're watching a character. But they love this character as if they want to actually be like him. But even Dice is like, this is ridiculous. The whole thing is I'm being ridiculous.
And Don singing Copacabana
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
years off of their, like, it's not even a music they would acknowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They're guys that literally
But
were
I'll
like,
tell you this, I do think, at least in my mind, I'd always get them on the tie yellow ribbon. You know, it's been 3 long. Sing it.
and then would anybody sing or just straight to booze?
I'll tell you the God's honest truth. I think the best in Arizona one time, they were singing with me. They were just having fun. But you know what?
Yeah.
And I appreciated that. They realized it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they were playing into it too. And they were singing along and going crazy.
So they got the bit.
They
At
did
least
get the
one
bit.
night got the bit.
Yeah. So that was, but I realized, and Andrew, he had a TV show and he got me to warm up his show. That was the first audience warm up that I did.
Oh, okay. So
And
that's
it
where
was-
you started.
That's where, when you asked me. So that's how Dice got involved.
Yeah.
Did you ever see any of the legendary Dice sets where he's just going up with nothing prepared and just antagonistic, like
Yes.
mostly at the store?
Like I said, I was on the road with him, and the one thing about Dice, I was just brought to fuck with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would call when people come up for his autograph. Why do you want this dope's autograph?
You would just stand next to him in the
Yeah,
line.
he's a moron. Andrew, what's 8 plus 7?
Just fuck with him, make him look like an idiot.
So he'd take me on movies, and I remember going out there. You guys, I remember talking to the whole movie, the whole crew during one of the lunch breaks. Andrew is going to cause you more shit than you've ever known in your life. He's an idiot. He is a moron.
Yeah, so they bring on Andrew Dice Clay at the peak of his fame, and then he brings you around to just talk shit about him
Yes.
to anybody working with him. And the crowd's like, who is this guy that you brought along that hates you, I guess? And you met him because you were a door guy at the Comedy Store. Did you meet him through that, or were you passed already?
Well, No, I was not passed. Maybe I was. I don't remember now. But what I used to do with another guy, one of the first guys that it used to be the Comedy Store was a playground. And one of the things, I had a little gang that we'd always fuck with Dice. And I remember one time when he caught us and my dick was in his gas tank like it was pissing in his gas tank. Hey, get away from my car. And I go, fuck you, dopey.
It's funny
They
to...
called him dunce.
You called him... That's great that he sees a guy with his dick in his gas tank and he just says, "Get away from my car." That's just all he has to say about it.
Were you door guys at the same time as Dice?
No, I was after Dice. And
Big age difference.
Really?
Yeah, totally different.
all right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I guess I don't know. I don't know when did Dice get to L.A.?
I don't know. But, his story was
He's
really-
not from here. He's from the
Brooklyn.
Bronx, isn't he? Or Brooklyn? Brooklyn.
He's dope from Brooklyn.
What year did you arrive at the Comedy Store?
Late 80s.
Yeah, right? Like 87 or something, I feel like, would be
Late 80s.
around that time.
But it was like just a total different time. And, and I found out I would go up there and people would fucking hate me.
What kind of stuff were you doing back then?
I did this one thing that was really, Kimmel actually had me do it on his show. It was called Balloon Art.
Okay.
Where I would take balloons and I came out to the music of Top Gun. I'd blow up the balloon top and everything was very dramatic. And then I put it into turn around and I'd come out with, it's a hot pretzel.
Yeah.
And I'd blow up another balloon. The letter X, I'd put them together.
And you'd act like it was really exciting.
Yeah,
Really like a
exactly.
big deal.
Right.
Like
I won the
badass
very
almost.
prestigious Balloon Dior Award.
Yeah, so you're sort of doing like just bits, just fucking with them
Yeah.
practically. Yeah.
Kind of always. And that got, a lot of people seemed to like that. But I just didn't want to be that, get up there and talk about it because that's not me. So I've never kind of done that. And I always had people would complain. People would complain. So when they asked me, when I started getting spots, they said, "When do you want to go up?" I said, "Let me go up last. Nobody can complain about me.
Yeah.
I'm the last guy. And it doesn't matter."
So at that time, that you were at the Comedy Store, there was kind of like a comedy boom happening at that time. So you had probably a lot of like trendy kind
When
of,
I first
hey.
came there, it was huge comedy. Huge. And I mean, it was like Monday night it was like potluck. But I mean, the main room was packed.
Yeah.
I mean, at that time, there was some gunfire. And I remember people diving under tables and things like that. It was a crazy time. It was a crazy time. And in the OR, if you went up there, the people that ran that room, you'd just go up there and you would get shit on. Just shit on.
Just yelled at?
By the hosts.
Oh, the host would yell.
Yeah.
So they had a host at that time?
Yeah.
Hardcore gatekeepers. Hardcore. Like they could physically haze you. They would try to mentally break you. There was no social etiquette.
Right.
And if you were a woman, there was a time that you'd walk there. You couldn't walk in the back hallway without just being fucking harassed.
Right. Which, that was... I think that legend still persists to a lot of people. I try and tell people now, I'm like, you can come. They'll be nice to you now. And people are still like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know.
I'm trying to bring it back. I've been slapping asses and shit.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shane's been it's been causing mostly customers, so he doesn't really understand, I think.
I slap him on the ass and I said, "Why don't you get out of the Comedy Store and meet me?" And I give him my apartment and my apartment number.
Yeah, he keeps trying to be like Andrew Dice Clay, and it's not going well because he's not Andrew Dice Clay.
No, you're not.
Yeah,
No, I'm absolutely not.
He doesn't have anywhere near the acclaim or fame or characters to support it, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It was a time, and I'll tell you, I look at it now, and you know Eleanor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eleanor has always been like just the funniest person. She was the head waitress for the longest.
Right.
And she let those waitresses when Eleanor was like the head waitress, ran the club.
Yeah.
They wanted a show to end. The show would end because there's no waitresses.
Right. Yeah, she ran that thing like a
And
fucking...
Eleanor was great because she had this character that was just like, let's party. Like that.
Yeah.
And there was a time that I look at one of the things that I did. I would chase her around and there's all these people that knew what was going on. And I'd catch her and I'd get her on the ground. I'd get on top of her and I'd start dry humping her. The circle would form around her. And she's having like, oh, this is great.
So
It's your fucking mode.
So this was a bit that she was like, yeah, she was in on the bit
No, she
at
was
that
in
time.
on the bit.
Yeah.
And people were just dying. But I just look at it. It's like I remember when all this getting woke and all that, like,
Referring to the Me Too, separate incident than woke, similar, but
Well, woke is, I guess, is a driving factor of then the Me Too movement. But
it
kind of,
came in so strong.
Yeah.
I remember introducing
But not the
Eleanor.
same, yeah.
Is Eleanor could screw my life up just by telling things that we've done before.
Sure. I mean, if Eleanor decided to act like she didn't think any of it was funny.
But I know you and Eleanor, and I saw them when I first came around the Comedy Store in 2003. It was beyond consensual. It was both of them. They're playing together. There was no, I'm a guy, I'm a girl, or I'm dominating you, I'm dominating you.
Yeah.
They're simply playing.
Yeah.
There's no Me Too chance of you
Well, I mean,
whatsoever.
Eleanor's
She's a wonderful, wonderful girl.
Yeah.
And she could kick his ass.
Right. She's a badass.
Oh, you think she could beat my ass?
Yeah.
It's bullshit. It's like that one security guard. Who's that security guard that's married? The short hair.
Liz?
Yeah.
Yeah, Liz.
She acts like she's tough. I'd beat the fuck out of her.
Liz, if you're watching, that's a direct call out. Secret Service, you don't have to worry about that. Liz is not involved.
It's a security guard at the Comedy Store.
I wouldn't worry about that.
She's not the president. You might think she is. She's not.
So you were telling me one time that when you were a door guy at the Comedy Store, Paul Mooney would fuck with you. Like when he was on stage,
Paul Mooney was great because Paul Mooney liked me.
Yeah,
And
like in a good way, he'd fuck with you.
One of the things that he did, like people would come, like, I mean, you'd see Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy's people coming to watch Paul Mooney. Mooney was absolutely great.
Yeah.
But he kind of liked me, and I talked to him a lot. And he actually put me on the cover of his first album.
Really?
You look up the album Race.
And you're on it.
Yeah, that's a great album. Do you feel like he kind of considered you like a kindred spirit because you both play with like discomfort, you think?
I will say this. After years, because I'd see him all the time, one night he followed me, and I did well. And as he came up, he goes, "He finally got it."
That's got to feel amazing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Paul
do you know the background of Mooney?
I mean, I know that he like wrote for Pryor. I don't necessarily know his like upbringing though.
Well, but he also, so he wrote sometimes on the show Sanford and Son.
Okay. I think I had heard that. Yeah.
He when he wrote for Richard Pryor, when Richard Pryor went on Saturday Night Live, and this you can look this up. He to show you his position, NBC needed Richard Pryor. He was the hottest in 1975 when Saturday Night Live came out. Richard Pryor was the hottest comedy act in the world.
Right.
And they said, we need him. They wanted him for the first episode. Couldn't get him. Put George Carlin on there. But they eventually, maybe the third show, maybe they finally got him. But here was his demands. He demanded that Gil Scott-Heron was the musical guest.
Oh, that's so cool.
Do you know who that is?
I love Gil Scott-Heron, yeah.
Okay, yeah, a very political guy from Detroit, actually. That his wife got to read poetry on the show, and that Paul Mooney was brought on to as a writer.
To like head the room. Yeah.
And ideas that Mooney had on there. They did one bit that was a parody of The Exorcist. And Richard Pryor was really funny in there. And then they did this one thing, and it was all Mooney's, called Word Association. It had Chevy Chase.
Oh, yeah.
One of the greatest sketches ever.
And Richard Pryor. It was like, at the time, 1975, it was like, whoa, what did they do?
Yeah.
So it was like, and those were Mooney's bits. Mooney, then he went on, he did a bit called, in his act, Homie the Clown.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in Living Color, took that and just did it.
Yeah.
And so he complained to them. They brought him on as a writer. Maybe one of the most popular Dave Chappelle bits ever was one where Mooney was talking about and he mentioned that, I can't think of his name.
I don't know if you're allowed to say that there's part of it.
Just tell me it's free. Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the guy. The guy who hosts Let's Make a Deal.
Howie Mandel?
Not Howie.
No, but
No, black guy.
Oh,
But he was like a guy that I can't think. Wayne Brady.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Right, right.
For the best Mooney's bit, he introduced,
oh yeah.
like, he said, Wayne Brady makes, oh, fuck, I can't think of the guy's name from the Today Show. It makes Brian Gumbel look like Malcolm X.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the joke. And he was upset, and he was on the Chappelle show. And so Chappelle went around. You know what the bit I'm talking about?
Well, I know about when Mooney said that, but then what was the bit on the show again?
On the show, Wayne Brady was picked up by Chappelle, and they start driving around, and so they stop, and there's he's coming over to get money from prostitutes.
Yeah.
Wayne Brady is. And he says, well, it seems a little light today. Is Wayne Brady going to have to beat a bitch?
Yeah. yeah.
It made Wayne Brady look better than he had ever looked before, but that was something he did. So everybody in the history of black comedy has had Mooney around him. He wrote for Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like, Richard Pryor is my favorite comedian, but you can't really talk about Richard Pryor without talking about Paul Mooney. And then just in black comedy in general, for the last 50 years, you can't not mention Paul Mooney.
Well, the Sanford and Son, that guy's a comic. That dad in the show, right?
Red Fox.
Yeah. Red Fox is amazing.
Yeah.
And supposedly Paul Mooney was great. Technical jokes. He was really good. And so Pryor would tell everybody, oh, go to Mooney if you need some help with jokes.
Yeah.
So he wrote jokes for Red Fox, all these guys. Just, he's great. And he was really, really nice to me. Put me on his album cover.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really, really, yes.
I was going to say that I got to meet him. He came to the store, about decade, 15 years ago. And the second he sees Don, he goes right up to him. We all go in the back by sacred ground, and he's holding court.
Yeah.
And I mean, such an amazing, charismatic guy. And
Right.
like the example of watching him walk on stage, like in the OR, late night, not a booked show.
One of the things, when I first got there, I kind of hung out in the group where Sam Kinison was.
Yeah.
And Sam Kinison loved teaching people.
Yeah.
And he said, if you want to watch somebody, the best person, you could have a zoo going on before him. The person within 30 seconds will get the audience in his corner is Paul Mooney.
Yeah, he has that energy just from watching what I've seen of him. It's just that, like, that kind of true confidence on stage. Where Paul Mooney almost seems like a guy who's almost too funny for stand-up, where he's like almost like above the work that needs to be done. Like, I think that's like what he's almost like, the way he fucks with audiences so much is he's almost like, I don't need to wait for you idiots to like come. Like, just come to me. Like, I'm right. I know I'm right. So just shut up and listen to me.
One time I was sitting in the back in the bucket seats, and he was getting on this one white guy. You are a moron. Do your friends tell you how stupid you are? And he's like just shitting him. So this guy waits in the back by that door, by the bucket seats, and he's just... And Mooney comes off stage, and now he's going to approach Mooney. Oh, don't waste my time, brother. And he just takes all his dignity out, and he just walks by. I'm like, oh, don't waste my time.
Yeah. I think you were telling me one time that, at least one time, but you this might have been a thing he did a few times, that when you were, I think, still a door guy, Paul Mooney would be on stage and he'd point at you and say, do you see that white guy in the back? He hates seeing black people on stage. And he would try and fuck with you like that.
It wasn't exactly that. What he wanted me to do, he came up to me, and you got to understand this. Like, even guys like Eddie Murphy, when they came there, they wouldn't play with him.
Yeah.
Because this is all Mooney's time. But Paul Mooney would actually tell me bits to do while he was on stage. And one of the things he wanted me to do is say that I'm sorry.
For being white.
Yeah.
To apologize for your whiteness.
Yeah.
And was your point to not, or to fight it, or to...
Not, because you see, you do what you're kind of asked to do.
Sure.
There was, like, in the 90s, there was a really completely different dynamic with, like, different races.
Sure.
Like, if you go from people that lived, which I wouldn't know, in the 50s, 60s, like, there was significant changes when you study history of decades. But by the 90s, you would kind of say that everyone was really equal in a certain sense. You still had rich, poor. The big gripe in the 90s, I would say, is rich, poor. So at that time in comedy, it was like Black people were dominating the music scene, hip hop, comedy, TV in living color. Amazing. It was almost like when you're watching general pop culture, TV, cable, TV, movies, or whatever, it was to the point where it was over 50%.
Yeah.
Like, so it was finally like a big outburst. So to the funniness to have Paul Mooney be like to Don, "Oh, you're white, something white," and Don to be like, "Well, golly gee, I am so sorry." Go ahead now. Do to them right now what he had you do.
I kind of did. Shucks, Mr. Mooney.
Yeah. And you would just, oh, well, gosh, I didn't realize that.
He would always like, finally, a white guy apologized.
Yeah, just for you being hunky-dory about it.
One interesting thing about him, when he went to like an all-black school, and when he was in college, Martin Luther King visited the school, and the people that were there, he was talking to the students, and they said, "Oh, you got to meet this Paul Mooney guy." So Martin Luther King asked to meet Paul Mooney when he was in college.
That's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, here he is, but the fact that people that knew him when he was in college said, "Hey, you've got to meet this guy."
Yeah.
And that Martin Luther King took the time to meet him.
Well, yeah, he's a guy I looked up to because, like, we're talking about, like, if you're being a younger comic and trying to stay true to yourself, is you look at somebody like Paul Mooney and it's like, well, you don't get that funny by sacrificing anything.
Yeah.
And, like, completely committing to whatever you're doing. And, like, obviously you have to, as a comedian, you do want to make people laugh and provide a service, but you also have to, like, kind of think you're right about what you're doing. And it seems
I
like...
see what you're saying. You're absolutely right, yeah.
Yeah, like, he's the epitome of that, of, like, knowing that what he's saying up there is what should be said because it's what he wants to say. Would you say he was, like, your biggest influence at the Comedy Store, or who are you really...
At the Comedy Store, yes.
Yeah.
But I love Sam Kinison.
Right. What was it like watching his sets? Because that was that time where people would, like, get out of the Roxy and the Troubadour, and then they would come after to watch him.
So you'd see bands.
Yeah.
It was... I'll tell you this. There was a show that Pauly Shore, when he was at his peak, he was doing a Vegas show and a New Year's Eve. And the Vegas show was Pauly, Kinison, and Tommy Chong.
Oh, wow.
So they were doing warm-up shows in the main room before New Year's Eve. And one night, Sam went out there and was like, "Ugh, you're going to make me work tonight, are you?" And he went on, and he had one of the best sets I've ever seen in my life. Kinison was not good. He was beyond belief wonderful. And I don't think because most people, his stuff that he talked about, whatever. He was just fucking brilliant, man.
It seems like you can't really understand Kinison unless you got to see him live.
It's kind of funny. When I first met Jimmy Kimmel, I told him how great Sam Kinison was. And he said, "Well, I never really saw that because I was at, what we saw was when he was on like Saturday Night Live, and he didn't have good sets on Saturday Night Live. So I don't think people really saw how fucking great Sam Kinison was.
Yeah, I think he's in the realm of comics, sort of like similar to like Joey Diaz, who said he's very inspired by him, and like certain guys that what they do is like creating a moment inside of a room that's like very special and wild, and it's not really something you can just tape.
But those are the guys that influence me.
Yeah, I mean that's what you want to do in comedy. Is like, you know, I've heard tons of people talk about that. Like Louis talks about like when you walk into a comedy club, you're making an agreement that we're going to be silly and say ridiculous things. And I think the best sets you see is where like a comic set becomes this sort of like we're all kind of on an inside joke, kind of huddled together, doing something kind of silly,
You're
you know?
exactly right. I think you're exactly right on that.
Yeah, something about just that kind of energy, having that kind of force of like you walk in there, you think you're going to have a normal night. That's why I really hate comics that go up there and for some reason try and be pleasant and agreeable, because I don't really see the point of that. Of like, well, why are you giving them what they get in their normal life?
Are you happy with where you're going, what you're doing?
I think so. When I think of it holistically and I think about how my bits are developing, yeah, it's like very tough, but I don't see any other way to do it. Like as much as I don't see a lot of success and I worry about my future, doing anything else would just feel wrong.
How about you? Do you feel that way?
I do. There's a constricting element to the position I'm at. I think of doing. It is interesting coming to the Comedy Store after already bypassing the like hosting aspect of it, and then you just have to do it again. You know what I mean? Like with the cold
What do you
opens.
mean, get past the hosting part?
Well, because I just haven't hosted in forever. You know, I was just doing featured shit, and then it's like it feels more like the work of it. You know, of like
Struggling with the cold opens.
Yes.
Having to kind of just be like a hey kind of guy, which is I think with me and Shane's material can sometimes be a little abrasive in different ways, but still it's tough to do a 5-minute cold set with it.
What I hear about you is I hear people, everybody says, oh, this guy's really funny, he could have a great career, but all he cares about is pussy.
He cares a lot about pussy. He started wearing a gold chain and a watch, and things have turned around immensely.
It was crazy. I started, and there was like a 3-week period where I went out with like a lot of women, and then it just stopped. I feel like
He must not have been very good.
It was. I think it was a placebo effect of I was confident for a second, and then I was just like, not anymore. You know.
He stepped into the chain and the watch.
Let me ask you this, if I may, because I know that we've done a lot of time here, and I just wanted to, because I don't do a lot of these. So, is there anything else you guys would like to know about Funny Man Don Barris?
We didn't talk about Windy City Heat at all, which I would say is one of the funniest movies ever made.
And I'm going to give you a high five right there.
So you met
I also
the newest door guy, Mikey McDonald.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he was my old roommate, and he moved to LA with me. First night we got here, I made all of my roommates sit in the living room and watch Windy City Heat. And I was like, this is the Comedy Store. This is, you know.
Well, it was formed there. It was definitely formed there.
Is that where you met Perry?
Yes, except when I really met Perry, they had a Comedy Store in Westwood.
Right.
And he would go there, and I would say, no, you just come back. I'll give you a spot you don't even need to sign up. Just come back at 12, because I ran their potluck night at the Westwood Comedy Store. And he would come there, and he was such an idiot, always. And but I used to do that with a lot of people. When the original Ding Dong show had some real characters in it.
Yeah, that's kind of your talent, or one of your talents is finding these characters to sort of corral.
But I'm not able to do it anymore. I can't find anybody.
Yeah, the Ding Dong show now I see a lot of, seems less craziness and more, I don't know, desperation in the eyes of the people.
I got to get more craziness.
There are people that really just only want to be famous, but they're not psychotic enough. There's like, we're losing those people. I don't think that's your fault. It's like the world.
I don't see them anywhere, though. I don't see those type of people anywhere.
Yeah.
You keep wanting to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
My theory on it is like those sorts of people are now like homeless drug addicts. No?
I would say that, I don't know if it's the right, that when they started giving everyone the smartphones, It's like,
Mm.
okay, so it turned like for almost 100 years, a little over 100 years, people from all over the world would just come to LA and be like, I'm here, I'm ready to be famous. And like I saw it, only in the 2000s, is people literally would just come and stand in front of the Comedy Store or a music venue or a recording company or a movie studio. They're insane.
Yeah.
But they're just like, I am here, I'm not going to leave.
Yeah.
And I think that the whatever mental issue that brought them from anywhere in the world to come and stand there, their pacifier is their smartphone with their Twitter and YouTube with 0 likes or follows.
Yeah, they can just make videos.
Yeah, why would they go outside? Why would they actually, try? So I think that there's almost no way to find those personnel that's changed.
Yeah. I see them. There's a whole cottage industry on Instagram now of trying to find videos that people make not trying to be funny, but that are inadvertently hilarious. And they usually, they exist in trailer parks around the country and things like that.
Those are the people that I like.
Right. Trying to find those weird people that don't know they're funny.
You just can't find them anymore.
Do you think part of it is just because I think a lot of it is the money thing of like that just because everything costs so much, it's like a guy from the trailer park that wants to be famous, he just has that access to the camera. So it's like he can't afford to just stand outside of the Comedy Store and he's like, well, I have this thing right here.
My thing, I think the people that run the potluck at the Comedy Store, they don't have time for these type.
They put up maybe one of sometimes if they see a guy with a single name that looks ridiculous, they'll put him up. But
You might not know this. I found this out more recently. You're supposed to submit you submit a tape now. Sometimes they let you sign up again.
Yeah.
But you were recording and submitting a tape. They were judging it and checking it before even letting people come up. The potluck was not.
I don't remember a tape. I remember all I heard was that you emailed your name.
I didn't know that.
They did, so you didn't have to. They didn't have to judge you by tape before you got a 3-minute spot.
Yeah, I mean, when I got in, there wasn't potluck at the time because it was back from the pandemic. So I was just given belly room auditions before my being hired as a door guy.
I think that hurts it. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I did go because I was too young to go to the Comedy Store, so I went illegally for 3 weeks, and then I got kicked out. And that was fun signing up for potluck and doing Kill Tony, and I got to go up a couple times. But then the pandemic happened, and then by the time that was over, I was 21, and then they hadn't brought potluck back. So then I was offered an audition, and then I auditioned. But yeah, it wasn't the same as trying to make my face known through potluck. It was more a cushioned audition because I got to go up in the belly room.
Did you do a lot of potluck?
I did. I did. They have a Sunday mic called Set of the Night. If you win that, then you
Set of the Night run by Gray.
Bruce Gray. Yeah. I won that a couple times. I would get up every week because this guy helped me out, and I would get on potluck.
I got him in. I got Eric Rocha in.
Yeah.
I've made sure, like a politician would, to extract my vision as much as I can upon the
I started doing it too because I got Mikey in.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Eric Roach is a funny guy, man.
He's amazing. Yeah, I mean, what he does
awesome.
is amazing. That's why we need more people like that. And yeah, I'll say this: when I brought my friends who are our age, like mid-20s, to the Comedy Store, and I always tell them you have to stay and you have to watch Don Barris because when they come. They say, I haven't seen anybody talk like that. I didn't know people still say wild stuff like that. And I realize there's a lot of people our age that exist in normal office jobs around normal people, and they don't get to hear fun, wild stuff. And so whenever any of my friends come, I'm like, the other comics are great. They're fine. They're funny, whatever. But you should watch Don Barris because you're not hearing this kind of stuff in your normal life. You should be reminded that people are still wild. And it's really fun showing my friends your sets because they're like...
to say. And I'll tell you this. The sad thing about that, nobody fucking ever hires me. Nobody fucking hires me.
Yeah.
I asked at the Improv. They've come up to me and they've asked me many times, call in. They've asked me at the Laugh Factory. I've said, hey, how do I showcase to get in there?
Yeah.
Because it'd be nice to have a couple spots a night.
Sure.
They'll have nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Well, because those clubs don't want to try and develop anybody. They just want to get some actor on the thing and sell some tickets.
But
And
you know
they don't
what?
realize it's a bad long-term plan. You don't create a
But you know
community.
what? I feel there isn't a lot. I wasn't happy with last night, but I would say that there was laughter, but I don't think that I ever really bombed.
No.
I want to say kind of what Cooper was saying, but kind of the opposite. I remember when I was
Oh God.
I was 18 and I first started, watching comedy. I was really into Dice. I really loved Windy City Heat.
Oh.
Yeah, and I sent my buddy this, which, growing up poor, you just hang out with the poor kids, I would send like Dice, and I would send like Windy City Heat to people like who grew up in like the trailers and shit, and they loved you. They loved Windy City Heat, they loved Dice. And I mean, I'd love, because I worked in like the back of a body shop for 5 years, and I just know those guys would love you. Well,
that's nice of you to say, because I really feel like shit constantly.
At the Comedy Store?
Oh, yeah.
I think the store is nothing without you. I mean, you see my sets. It's like when I have to follow you, I'm like, Jesus Christ, because I can't get anywhere near the amount of fun that you have on stage. I'm going up with like my material, trying to make people understand me and like me. But I watch you and try and take what I can from it, because I watch you and I'm like, well, that's like a freedom of being up there. And like, that's what I'm jealous of now, is guys like you have been doing comedy for a long time. I'm not jealous of anybody's success. I'm jealous of people's experience and comfortability
They're
on
in
stage.
a position that can go up and do well. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. If I can give you one bit of advice, I said, you know what? I don't care, because there were people when I first started, they'd go up to the owner every day. Like I told you, I do that thing, balloon art, and
Mhm.
I did it to the music of Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins from Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fucking great. And every time the place erupted, and they would tell me, it's fucking bullshit playing music.
Yeah.
Can't follow that horse shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's stupid. I view following you as a challenge of like, well, he's gone up there, he's sang songs, he's done crowd work that nobody's ever heard, and he's done these like ridiculous things that nobody was expecting. Because it's like you say in your own set, I can't come up here and tell jokes about socks. I have to do something crazy. So when I follow you, it's like, okay, well, how do I maintain some kind of energy that is still my own thing, but still trying to access that part of like, oh yeah, this is a fun thing. It doesn't really matter. I shouldn't take myself too seriously, and trying to actually have fun on stage and like have a good time.
I think that if anything, you can't feel what's going on. It's all about you. Just do what you're doing, man. Because you know what? You'll eventually see. The great thing about the Comedy Store now is, how many nights a week are you getting spots?
I get one book spot a week, but I go there every single night to do
Right.
fallouts.
And you get fallouts.
Yeah.
So you're up there
7
6
nights a week. Yeah.
6-7 nights a week.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. It's like you were talking about emceeing. That's where I really because I'd go up and MC, and I found that every time I go up, I could say something.
Yeah.
And like when I was a DJ, if it didn't work, I'd play the song when I was a DJ.
Yeah.
If not, I'd just bring up the next act.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I just thought outrageous things, and it started working. So
Yeah, that's the thing. I try and remember that I am building something, because it's like I'll go up at like, 11 to 1 a.m. every night to drunk people who have already paid their checks, who are tired. But then when I get to go up at like 7 p.m., I do way better than I used to.
It's different, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been dealing with nothing. So if I'm given something.
Exactly. And you have to understand that those late spots are making you stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And the people that I always looked up to was the Kinison, who went up late, was the Paul Mooney, who'd close out almost every night.
Yeah.
Those are guys that I just watch how they would get the crowd going.
Right. Well, I don't want to keep you for any longer. Do you have any last words?
Well, I'd like to say his balloon art story
Mhm.
and the early Ding Dong show, the prequel to Windy City Heat, is actually 31 public access shows Don did. And
Where and on there, Jimmy Kimmel was the announcer, and when he won an Emmy Award.
is this true? It was Comedy Central's first Emmy with Win Ben Stein's money.
Yes. Yes. And he won as best host. And I remember the show. They won best show, best game show because he was on the daytime awards. And I remember when they showed this, they had, who was the guy that hosted Jeopardy?
Alex Trebek.
Yeah. He did one of these, like, oh.
He was pissed.
Yeah, he was pissed.
Yeah.
It was the first, so he brought the award and gave it to our public access show.
Which was Win
Wow.
Pensign's money.
And there's, no, the public access, Simply Dawn, the public access show. And
Okay. You were the host of this
in
public.
a diaper had to give an acceptance speech for that was given to Dawn's public access show, #1 public access show in the world.
It was actually myself, Mole, and Perry.
Yeah.
The Windy City Heat. There were the 3 guys in it. But then we had Jimmy Kimmel as the announcer and his cousin Sal as the DJ.
31 episodes. Is this findable?
Yes, that's what I was getting at. So the prequel to Windy City Heat is these 31 episodes, which you can find on simplydawn.com. And if you go on that page, you click big3premiummembership.com button.
Okay.
And then there are hundreds of videos.
Okay.
All of the video from the Big 3 podcast, which is post Windy City Heat,
Right.
but pre Windy City Heat is the public access shows. And then there's a live section where the first Simply Dawn, the Belly Room program was.
Where we had live shows. But one of the things, the Ding Dong Show has had quite a history. And I finally said, geez, oh man, I'm not getting the crazy people in here anymore.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is we're going back, starting now, and we just go backwards and doing the best of every month of the Ding Dong Show. There is some unbelievable shit coming.
Right.
That's on
Hell
the
yeah.
YouTube Simply Dawn.
And that's free on YouTube.
Yeah, that's free.
Okay.
The Ding Dong Show highlight stuff. But with the Big 3 Premium membership, you can see like the not only the prequel to Windy City Heat, but Simply Dawn, the Belly Room program, the Big 3 participated in.
Yeah.
And so you can see the development of what, and then it turned into the Ding Dong Show, I believe around 2000. And that first episode, there was a 2-second smidgen in that Showtime Comedy Store documentary. But on stage, you had, did you guys get to see Robert William Aprovaya?
Yes,
I did.
I did. Yeah.
Robert William Aprovaya is up there, Duncan Trussell.
That was Robert William Aprovaya was the guy that said, I want to have a show with guys like this, because the very first time I saw that guy, I walked into the OR on a potluck night, and on stage was Robert Aprovaya, but in the audience was Sam Kinison and his friend Carla Bove, and they were throwing chairs at him, and he would just stop. And I later found that this under the mustache is a sign for him that he gives people that Nazis are fucking with him.
Yeah.
Greater than two.
Because he would, when you would fuck with him on stage, I remember you would say, you'd yell at him, and then he'd say, "Are you still a member of the American Nazi Party?" And you would yell back at each other. Yeah, and he would mumble that under his breath, because it was a lot of mumbling.
Well, first there was the Nazi voodoo conspiracy, which was Kinison, Carl LeBeau, possibly even Roseanne Barr. And then there was the Lemon Jello conspiracy, because a guy named Jay Leno was hanging out at the Comedy Store before he got his TV show.
Okay.
Now, when Johnny Carson retired, Robert William Aprovaya had gone over to over 200 tapings of the show, sat in the audience in the building, and he thought naturally he'd be taking over for him. So he thought Lemon Jello, Jay Leno, had stolen his fate.
The thing, he would never call him Jay Leno. He always called him Lemon Jello.
Okay.
Like it was beneath him to call him by his name.
Yeah.
And then, so he actually, at one point, he finally, I wouldn't say he was my friend, but he started trusting me. And one of the things he always accused me of doing was stealing buttons from him. I would steal.
Right.
So
would
what
be
I did
Dawn's
is I
fault.
brought in one time this big thing just filled with buttons.
Yeah.
And it was entitled Buttons That I've Stolen from Comics. And he would look in it, trying to see if any of his buttons were there. It was just a fucking insane time.
Well, Don created that Lemon Jello was hiring employees of the Comedy Store just to target Robert.
Right.
Like, and
All right. Well, listen, we've taken up all your time.
No, I've
this
loved.
is
I mean,
fascinating.
I feel very lucky to have been a door guy while Robert William Eppervaya, may he rest in peace, was still alive. Because before he would go up, he would stand in the main room in the dark, and they'd say, "Where's Robert?" You'd have to go find him, and you have to walk into a completely pitch black main room and just go, "Robert, Robert," and then you would burst out of the bathroom, full darkness, and be like, "Yeah, I know," and he would be really rude about it, to be like, "Yeah, I fucking know I'm about to go up." After he was just standing in complete darkness, and then he would go up and do his late night. Because a lot of people didn't listen to his set, and I would finally tune in and listen to his set. And as you know, he was just doing a late night show by himself.
He was doing the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
He was doing Johnny Carson.
Right. Yeah. So he would introduce that. He would do a monologue. Then he would bring up Yakov Smirnoff and would just do Yakov's set. And then, yeah, I mean, that was the best thing. And as long, because there's a lot of rumors about Robert that he like was a normal guy and then like did some TV spot and then went crazy.
What he honestly did, just to fill it in, he was a guy that he had been like a potluck. He had gone to law school. He graduated from law school. And then I think the demons came in because then he thought all lawyers were just criminals.
Yeah.
So basically, Robert was like straight A in school. He
Yeah.
was class president in high school. He was very popular. He was
He played college basketball.
basketball. Yeah.
Wow.
15.9 point guards per game. And then he went to law school. He graduated. He was interning at the Hill Street Courthouse.
Can I just ask? I see two little pieces of mud here. Did I bring those in?
No, that's just dust that's around from the air purifier. I cleared it out. That's not your fault. Don't worry.
So
That's my own life.
totally separate thing, but I've heard this confirmed by actual psychiatrists. Schizophrenia can start in youth. It can start around 18 or it can start around 30.
Yeah.
Now, he was interning at the Hill Street Courthouse. Now, see, the thing with Robert is he's honest. He's honest to a fault.
Okay.
Like, and
He'll go on the street and if there's some people, some hoods, like, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
He like, oh, the not so voodoo conspiracy.
Yeah. He'll just
And
get
they'd
right
come
to
over
it.
and they'd slap him around.
Oh, I mean, that guy must have gotten his ass beat a ton of times.
well, so he tried to go into the Hill Street Courthouse and intern there.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, main courthouse
Yeah.
in the mid 70s.
Right.
Like, and so that's like, and see, the thing with schizophrenia is if you can't make a complete.
You're not a doctor, though. Just
I'm
tell
not.
me you're not a doctor.
I said I'm not a doctor. I heard this
Right.
from.
But schizophrenia onsets around
We're glad
25.
to have Dr.
Eight-
Maryjane on the podcast.
Not a
Wait a
doc-
minute. She's not a doctor. She's not a doctor.
But so you'll make up your scenario. If you don't have a clear cut of how did you get from A, B, C, or D, you'll make up things.
Sure,
That's
sure.
his whole, like, all the people.
Well, wait a minute. The better way to explain it, if he doesn't understand what's going up, he has to have a resolution. So he makes
Yeah.
up a why.
You would make up a narrative. And it's usually, I mean, yeah, most schizophrenics, you have a paranoid conspiracy that people are working against you.
Like he thought that I must work for Jay Leno
yeah.
because I'm heckling him. And so he came up to me one time and at one point he was asking me stuff all the time and I was trying to be his friend. So because he was put into the Ding Dong Show, Mitzi put him in the Ding Dong Show.
Right.
I convinced her and he left because I named it Simply Don the Ding Dong Show.
Yeah.
Oh, on the day that Johnny Carson passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the first Monday after Johnny Carson died. Don went to Kinko's and there's his logo's Don with his tongue out. And it
Mhm.
says, and he wrote Simply Don on the corner, beautiful poster. And Don posted 100 all over the belly room, just pictures of Don's face saying Simply Don, and Robert walked in.
To
Which-
wrap it up, I'll just, because I know that right now, this guy's he hasn't had puss in over 90 minutes. So.
Yeah, he is
Yeah.
starved.
Yeah, it is. It does suck.
But what it was just, I've always looked at the Comedy Store as the greatest playground ever.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, it makes me sad that it isn't as crazy as it once was.
I
It's
hear
lost,
I
yeah.
hear stories and it does. Like I feel a nostalgia for a time that never was. I remember.
What do you mean by that?
Like sometimes I'm just like, I hear about how wild it was, and it's like I wish kind of that there was some of that. I remember when I was doing comedy in Nashville during the pandemic, and I would sit in the front row when I would host this mic, and if somebody did a pun or something, I'd like kick chairs at them, and fucking, there would be like, we were also right next to a dicey area, so there would just be shootings, and like comics would get scared, and then we'd like call them gay and shit. Like, there would be fights all the time. It was a wild time, and I miss that.
I do too.
And I wish, because the Comedy Store sounds even wilder than that.
Oh, Potluck it used to be crazy because the people that ran it would always put up the colorful characters.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they find it funny anymore.
No, it's not much of a freak show.
I'd like to jump back again. I loved your observation of Robert's set basically being the show, just so he's no longer with us.
Yeah.
But his YouTube channel's still there. If you look up Robert William Aprovia, you can see his public access shows from the 90s.
Oh, wow.
Like he's doing jokes about the Bill Clinton, the whole, that.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And
you're promoting Robert more than you are us.
No. Okay. The important YouTube homework to do for the topics we're talking about. Robert William Aprovia on YouTube. We get nothing from it. He's already gone, but you can see what he made.
Right.
The shows he crafted. If you go to simplydon.com, click the Big 3 Premium Membership.com button.
Yeah.
And you can get all the Big 3 videos, the prequel to Windy City Heat, and the Ding Dong Show highlights are on YouTube, Simply Don.
On that page, you also can see, if you've never seen Windy City Heat, you can see it there. So,
one of the greatest movies ever made.
It should be watched by everybody.
I did.
One of my favorite. I went to the screening of Windy City Heat at that pizza place.
Oh yeah,
yeah. My roommate is. You know John Pellick, right?
Yeah.
That's my roommate. Shout out John Pellick.
Shout out to John Pellick.
Yeah. I keep telling him to come to the store, but he's always like busy with work.
He was the Ding Dong Show sound guy for like a year.
Yeah, amazing guy. One of the nicest guys I know.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, that's a great memory of getting to experience that movie live with people that had never seen it before. A lot of people that were just like friends of John. You know what I mean?
You know,
like his
what?
weird art
I don't know if you remember this, but there's a guy that's no. I'm talking about the guy that was at the pizza place. He started coming to the Comedy Store, and for some reason he felt he was part of my act.
Oh,
that was Cody.
Yeah, right.
He's in a wheelchair and can't say a word.
Yeah, there's a quadriplegic man.
Yeah.
A quadriplegic man,
and he just won't stop talking.
Yeah. To everybody watching, this guy is in a.
I don't know if I'd call it talking though.
He's in a motorized wheelchair and he can't actually form words, and he would come into the room and sort of gargle through Don's set, and it became a confusing situation where we had to tell a man who's almost completely physically disabled to stop ruining the show, because he was.
And I tried to because I felt like
you were very giving.
I really, I would tell him, I'd say things like, "You open your mouth again, I'm going to knock you out of your chair."
It was hilarious.
And it was so fun. It was so funny getting to watch that with people that had never seen you, and you're just screaming at this disabled man,
But he loved it, and he would laugh his ass off, so he knew it was funny. And that's what he had. He had a real love for comedy.
Yeah.
So it was like very, but you know what? I see that we're wasting your time. This guy's just itching for puss, man.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to go jack off in my car and then drive to get a hooker.
So thank you very much for having us on. Thank you to
I mean, this is incredible. I mean, it's always an honor to fucking get to talk to you I mean, like, the style of comedy, I think you are one of the best performers in any medium I've seen.
Fuck yeah, thank you. You got a high five for that.
Like, I mean, every night I can see you is a delight, all that. And I'm not kissing your ass because you can't get me anything. You can't help me with anything.
Well,
How
Jesus.
long have you been at the Comedy Store?
Like 4 months.
Yeah, you might want to retract what you just said because
All
he
right.
could spitefully hold that against you.
He could hold it against you.
Oh, it already is. I've already got
Yeah.
it. He's fucked.
I don't know why you had to end it that way. You could have just stuck with
Everything was going good. I had fun. You asked some good questions. You guys, it was interesting.
No, but seriously.
No, but now you say that. Fuck you.
You're not letting that. He's Don's tried to end the podcast 4 times.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You just keep saying, and then you're ending with insults.
I'm sorry, but
what did I do?
as I said,
I don't understand.
As I said,
he doesn't have hosting training.
You are one of the, you're big. Windy City Heat is a huge comedy fucking. That was a big comedy milestone for me to see that.
Thank you very much. So can we give our social media?
Yeah, of course. Promote anything you want.
Go ahead.
You go first, Maryjane. I do mine.
Okay. I am on Instagram, A with the circle, TheSmokingMaryjane. Yeah, I think that's right. So Don everywhere is Simply Don 1, the number.
Simply Don.
Except for Facebook's Don Barris, and Cameo is Don Barris. And he does beautiful cameos. One of his more recent ones, it was a request of being family friendly because they were going to play it in front of an entire multi-generational group.
Oh, that's nice.
And they loved it. He did a beautiful job.
Good Christmas gift. It's coming up.
It is.
Yeah.
And
you know what?
For that, when they asked me to do it, mention cunt under 5 times.
That's family friendly as long as it's under 5. That's the 5 cunt rule. It's a classic of comedy.
And as I said probably too many times before, you can find all Don's stuff at simplydon.com.
What she means by that is there's a lot of Ding Dong Show stuff. There's some Big 3 stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I've done if you want to go to that.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's seen Windy City Heat, I think, has the same thought I had, which is I wish I could somehow watch this movie again for the first time.
There was a guy who said something that was the greatest compliment to me I'd ever heard. I won't mention who it is. But he would tell people that I gotta watch this movie. And he would get in their face and say, gotta tell you something. I envy your position. You're about to be opened up to this world like you just don't even understand.
Yeah, I tried to describe it to my father today because I was telling him how excited I was to have you on the podcast. And it's almost hard to describe. You just have to tell people, you just have to go watch it because I can't really explain how funny this is. It's too long of a prank to just describe.
And there's 300 videos on Big 3 Premium membership. I'm not talking 5-minute videos. Literally 2-hour videos. Leading up through every bit of the Big 3. Every bit pre-Windy City Heat, post-Windy City Heat. Windy City Heat's Windy City Heat. I don't have none of that.
So if you're a fan of Windy City Heat, you got to check out the early stuff. This is when we had no direction. Nobody was telling us it was any good at all.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, people were telling us how shitty it was, but I just kept doing it. So.
Yeah, just pure freedom.
And then Jimmy Kimmel came in and said, this is great. So
well, thank God
I appreciate
for that.
you having us on.
Thank you for coming.
Please have me on again.
We'd love to have you. Anytime you have an open invite to the podcast.
Anytime, man.
I did have fun, and it's not that far away. And by the way, today is this Sunday. I'm shaving this off.
Well, thank God we got it on the podcast before.
Wow. Holy shit. Wow. This is huge.
So that's big news.
Yeah.
Huge news.
We're going to have to release this on Thursday, so everybody's going to be very confused when he shows up without a mustache.
We'll release it. We'll make sure to release it before Sunday.
Now I'm kind of pissed because we didn't. They're going to film me just doing my set over and over and then take it off the best. I'm going to wear the same shirt, same pants.
Oh, wow.
But I wanted to have the mustache on some and not on others.
Yeah, just to fuck it all up.
Yeah.
Just so they can't make their plans.
That's so fucking badass.
Well, thank you for coming.
You, Don.
Go check out Don and Maryjane online. Join the premium membership if you are a fan of Windy City Heat. There's more to see if you didn't already know. Thank you so much for coming. This is our greatest episode yet.
Absolutely.